Wasabi wallet. Unfairly private.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to yet another episode of Why Are We Bullish? We've got a hell of a panel today, and as per usual, we're just going to riff on some ideas of what has us bullish as of late. Are you guys in the chat bullish? There's already over 50 people in here, so thank you guys for joining us. Smash that like button, give it a share. Everything that you do in that vein will appease the algorithmic gods of YouTube and get it in front of more eyeballs. But as per usual, I am Ben with the BTC Sessions, and this is your daily session. Here we go.
Hodl the Bitcoin.
As I always say, these things are live, so anything can happen. Any technical difficulties, please do forgive them, and we'll reiterate that with a word from our good friend over here who had some difficulties of his own.
We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. And thing sucks.
So hopefully we don't have any of that going on, but let's get started here. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you guys have me momentarily. There we go. I'm pulling up the bitbo.io dashboard. This thing's a beast if you ever want any Bitcoin info. We're sitting around 18,830 some odd dollars. For $1 American, you can grab yourself 5,309 sats. That sounds like a sale to me. Stack those while you can. I feel like that 5,000 sat threshold per dollar is on the way out. As far as percentage of Bitcoin currently mined already, we're up to 88.39%. Keep in mind, that's going to hit 90% by the end of next year. And in terms of fees, if you're looking to get into the next block, you're looking at around 77 sats per byte. Within an hour, you're going to look at around 8 sats per byte. Not bad. And if you're willing to wait a day or more, around 1 sat per byte will do ya. Of course, before we dive into this show, I got to give a shout out to sponsors of the show, LEDN.io. These guys are awesome and they saved my ass on more than one occasion. Basically, if you are in a pinch and you need to get your hands on dollars, but you don't want to sell your Bitcoin because that is a taxable event and you're worried about having to buy back in at a higher price, this could be for you. They have their Bitcoin backed loans where you could get a Canadian or US dollar loan using your Bitcoin as collateral. Super easy. Deposit, get money in your bank account, pay back that amount, get back the same amount of Bitcoin. They've also got their savings accounts for Bitcoin and USDC, and they've got their B2X offering. If you're a bull and you like the idea of a little bit of leverage, you can check out that. Now, up next, we have the Kobo Vault. This is becoming one of my regularly used hardware wallets. I love the thing because it's air gapped, meaning you never plug it into anything internet connected. It's all via QR code. They have some badass Bitcoin only firmware, which I recommend switching to. They've got a secure element on the thing. They have interoperability with all of my favorite Bitcoin wallets: Bitcoin Core, Electrum, Wasabi on desktop, which is my go-to, and Blue Wallet, of course. If you're living on Bitcoin like me, because I'm as all in as you can be, I'm so fucking bullish, but sometimes I need to eat or get gas or shop or do a Christmas shopping. Head over to Bitrefill where you can use your Bitcoin, but you can also earn sats back. These guys are an absolute godsend to me because, as I said, most, if not all of my income is Bitcoin, and I need a way to live, and this helps me do so. And finally, don't put your backup seed on paper because that's scary and it can burn or get water damage. Put it on steel. One company that does so for you is the BillFodl or privacypros.io. Head over there. Easy solution to back up the seeds to your wallet. And it's kind of you-proof because you're much less likely to throw out some solid steel than a piece of paper. So be sure to check that out. Anyways, guys, let's get out of my screen share, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to be bringing in some guests here gradually. Let me just get them all up here. We've got a killer panel today. Welcome, gentlemen. How are you guys?
Great, man.
Good.
Doing
Happy
well.
to be here, man.
Awesome. This is a killer group here. We've, of course, got Stephen Cole. We've got Nico and Phil from Simply Bitcoin. And we've got Adam O'Brien from Bitcoin Well. I'm going to let you guys go down the line really quick. I guess I already gave names and sources, but just give a quick one or two liner about yourself. So, Stephen, I'll let you kick it off. Introduce yourself, please.
Sure. Hey, what's up, everyone? Stephen Cole. I'm here. I'm bullish. Been in the Bitcoin space since 2013, organizing meetups. So I helped found the OC Bitcoin Network down in Orange County, California. We've been building that scene up the last couple of years, and investing in startups in the space. So mostly pre-seed, early stage stuff focused on Bitcoin native, Bitcoin only, and working with entrepreneurs trying to build towards that Bitcoin future.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here, man. Nico, I'll toss it your way.
What's up, guys? I'm Nico, or you guys know me on Twitter as BitVolt7, and I'm the CEO of BitVolt.com. We host miners for cheap because it's very expensive to run a miner at your home. We have around 2,500 miners at the moment, so it's a small medium operation, but we do get very, very cost-efficient electricity cost. And I also love content creation. I run a YouTube channel. It's called Simply Bitcoin. I do it with Phil. It's a daily 10-minute video. It's just a recap. It's awesome. We do a meme review, and it's a lot of fun. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming, man. Phil, I'll toss it to you. I know that Nico just stole your thunder, given he gave away the whole channel, but take it away, man.
All right. Well, on Twitter, I'm Coin Icarus, and I'm just a Bitcoin plebe and remnant, and I'm bullish AF and happy to be here. And yeah, I co-host Simply Bitcoin with BitVolt7.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming. And Adam, take it away.
Sure. Yeah, I think bullish AF would be something that describes me too. I'm, as Ben said, I'm CEO of Bitcoin Well. We have a Bitcoin ATM network up in Canada, 80 machines across Canada, and been in the space similar to Stephen for going on year 8 now. So it'll be 8 years next year. It's pretty shocking. I feel like we're just kind of getting started all at the same time. We've been doing this for as long as I can remember. So it's been a lot of fun, seen a lot of cool different things happening, and I think bullish AF is the best way to put it.
Awesome. All right. Well, gentlemen, title of the show is, of course, Why Are We Bullish? It's my favorite show of the week regularly. And basically, we're just going to riff on reasons that we're bullish. I'm going to toss out mine first, and we can kind of all drop some thoughts on it if you have anything to add in. And then we'll just go down the line, and we'll each give a reason and riff on each one. So I wanted to point out the SATS shortage, and that's why I made the thumbnail for the video for this. A shortage of SATS. Man, that's a mouthful. But in previous bull runs, we actually saw influxes of coins to exchanges as people were realizing, oh, this is going up in value, and I'm gonna put it on the exchange, and then maybe I'll trade some shit coins for that, or maybe I'll sell a bunch. We're seeing quite the opposite leading into 2021, despite the price appreciation. In fact, I had just looked it up, and this was back in this would have been a headline from mid-November. But at that point, nearly 500,000 Bitcoin had actually left exchanges. And so a couple reasons for this, but one of them I have to believe is that you have different types of people buying Bitcoin. Namely, there's some institutions that seem to be coming into the mix. You got the Michael Saylors of the world. You got places like obviously Square that are starting to stack within their company treasuries. And so I look at this and I see, it kind of seems like the retail FOMO has even yet to begin. And meanwhile, we're seeing price appreciation and outflows. And that leads me to believe that when retail FOMO does kick in, and potentially institutional FOMO, there's just not going to be the sats to stack, or you're going to get a lot less sats for your dollar, because who wants that filthy fiat? So this has me super bullish. I'm going to go down the line, maybe just get some thoughts on that. Steven, I'll toss it to you. What are you feeling about this?
I've been loving seeing those stats in the same way you have. And I think the sell side liquidity crisis is going to be a real thing. And that's a feature, not a bug. And I'm here for it. There are only so many Bitcoin. We can't just print them, and they don't grow on trees. And so if people want them, they're going to have to pay the price that the hodlers demand for their Bitcoin. And in the grand scheme of things, the opportunity to trade dollars for Bitcoin might be a limited time offer. So sooner the better.
Yeah, I'm guessing that 5K conversion for a single US dollar is going to be short-lived. Soon it'll be 4 and 3 and 2, and then it'll be 0 because nobody wants your dollars anymore.
That's what's up.
Adam, what are your thoughts? What are you feeling here about this?
Man, I'm just thinking like we're seeing it worldwide. Like what you just said, it'll be 0 because you won't be able to buy it with the dollar. It's like that's literally Venezuela right now. That's what has happened. There's a crazy premium. So like, you're absolutely right. But I think kind of building off of what Steven said, there's no sell side. Like that's one thing that we haven't seen. We have corporations taking these massive public positions, and it's just like this underlying, brick house of foundation that the entire market is just sitting on right now. It's absolutely incredible. And to your point, the last bull run was funded by Bitcoin as an on-ramp into the kind of alternative, I won't even call them a cryptocurrency kind of space. And here what we have is Bitcoin being like the asset. That's what people are wanting. No one's buying Bitcoin just to buy Ripple or buying Bitcoin just to buy these other, Ponzi schemes. They're buying Bitcoin because they want Bitcoin. There's a lot less kind of noise in the space. And it's really, really exciting to see our world kind of like waking up to what we've all known for quite some time.
Yeah, nobody's buying Ripple except for maybe Raoul Paul. at least he's warming up to it. Anyway, it gets me because he's like super big on regulation. I think it was Pomp tweeted out, "What should I ask? What should I ask Raoul Paul?" And I said, well, ask him, since he's so big on regulation, if he's big on warming up to an unregulated securities offering. So we'll see if he ends up asking that question, but probably not. That would be my guess. Nico, I'll toss it over to you. What do you feel? Are you feeling the crunch? Are you feeling this absolute scarcity kicking in?
Yeah, man, I'm uber bullish, and I'm gonna hit it from a different angle, right? Because I like to mine, right? The hash rate is absolutely crazy, right? It took a little bit of a bump, right? But, I always look after the halving, right? And historically, what tends to happen is that if the hash rate tends to keep going, right, the price usually follows, right? And if you look back at 2017, when Bitcoin hit that all-time high of 20K, the hash rate was 10 times lower than it is right now, right? And the hash rate really is the value proposition of Bitcoin, right? Because technically that's how much computational power it would take to rewrite the whole chain, right? So that's the value proposition, at least from my eyes, right? And the fact that the hash rate just kept going, right? And compared to the loser coins, right? Btrash and Btrash SV, man, their hash rates have stayed the same. Literally, if you compare, right, and Bitcoin's just gone parabolic. So from the mining perspective, it's extremely bullish, and the price usually follows. And the macro perspective, I think you guys summarized it perfectly. Bitcoin's getting this mainstream acceptance, right? The fact that I'm not a big fan of PayPal because they don't allow you withdraw, but the fact that they're just being okay with Bitcoin, right? People forget, but Bitcoin used to be treated as if it's like, oh, you're Bitcoin, you're a drug dealer, right? And now it's being accepted into the mainstream, right? You just hear billionaire after billionaire saying, yeah, I have some in Bitcoin, I have some in Bitcoin. And I think that this epoch is going to be so different than the rest. It's just going to be a flood, right? And exactly what you said, BTC sessions, is there's not enough to go around. So I'm super hyped.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. Phil, I'm going to toss it to you. How you feeling about the scarcity out there?
So a couple of days ago, I bought $1,000 worth, and I got 5.2% of a Bitcoin. So just to put that into, I couldn't believe it. Like I sat there and I looked, and what? 5.2%, which obviously it's good and bad, right? Because we want to stack, but at the same time, NGU. So it's very difficult to anyways. You know what? It's a paradox, and I'm always stuck in it, right? When the price goes up, I still want to buy. When the price goes down, I want to buy. Look, I've been stacking since early 2018, and all I can say is, when I first got into this, and I was looking at Lightning and looking at Bitcoin, and that 2017 pump had just happened. Okay. The fees went out of control. We did not have the infrastructure that we have today. We are sitting at 18K, and you can still get a transaction in for 1 sat per byte. Think about that. I mean, the infrastructure is really getting laid out, and I already thought it was solid in 2017 and 2018, but now it's just like, it's now going to it's becoming a staple. And for me, I don't see any way around this. Like, we cannot be ignored anymore. Bitcoin cannot be ignored. It is absolutely the dark mirror to the current financial system. Every single sneeze that system has, Bitcoin shows it. It's like, yep, you just got sick, bud. So
yeah,
they can try to. Sorry.
Oh, well, I was thinking about infrastructure during even like Ben's intro, like just like the level of products that are out there that are sponsoring content and good content. And again, further, like, I was going to make a joke, and I'll make it now, I guess. I'm bullish because Ben's intro is just so much better than it was 3 years ago.
NGU gets you better splash screens at the beginning.
and like, but to your point, like, the infrastructure is just light years ahead of where it was, in the early days, 36 months ago. Like, it's absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah, and Phil, I wanted to echo your the whole getting a payment or buying some Bitcoin, because most of my income now is Bitcoin, and I'll send out an invoice and then I'll get paid for it, and I'll be like, that motherfucker, and then wait, no, that's the right amount of oh my god, what's the price? And like you realize, because you're still thinking in dollars, and then you're like, that could not possibly be the correct amount of Bitcoin. And then you look, and sure enough, and sometimes you even look and you're like, oh, it's actually more, because the price has gone up. Yeah. And so, like, you say, I think this is a case for making SATS the standard yet again, because you said, oh, I got 5% of a Bitcoin. No, friend, you got 5 million Satoshis.
Yep.
Absolutely. I actually think that, to add on to that a little bit, that transition to making SATS the standard is so important. And I would love to see more of the Bitcoin community just kind of focus on driving that home in the next 12 months, because I think there's that unfortunate psychological barrier to entry, right, that people have when they think about getting into this space. They see the price tag of a Bitcoin, and they either, in many cases, simply don't know that you can buy a fraction of it, which is unfortunate and very real. And that's pretty easy to explain to them. But even once you do, people don't like to feel like they have 0.0001 something, right? There's that unit bias. So I think, owning 50,000 sats is a lot more attractive than owning 0.00, however many 05s of Bitcoin. And so I would love to see, just across all the educational material, all of the products in, the wallet UIs, normalizing sats, making that the standard. I think it'll help big time.
The unit bias. Go ahead, Ben.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think we'll see a definite transition towards that. Like, I think obviously first step is for literally everybody to implement the option to view it in SATS. But I think, again, you're right, as the educators and content creators and wallets and stuff start pushing towards that as kind of like the default over time, it'll take a little while for people that are used to seeing the decimals to be like, wait, what's going on here? But it's like traveling. You go to a different country, you get used to the conversion pretty quick. You do that conversion in your mind. You're like, okay, well, it's roughly this, and I got to think in these terms. It'll happen, I think. Anyways, Adam, go ahead.
Well, I was just comment on the unit bias that Stephen brought up, because it's so true. And the world, our society has this paradox, or this paradigm of more being better when it comes to units. And of course, that's very true. But that's what caught everyone in 2017. And even some of my friends, you know, you tell them about something in 2013, 14, 15, 16, and then they only buy at all-time highs, which is just hilarious in and of itself. But lots of them were going towards, you know, oh, I'd rather have 25 million of something else than 0.02 Bitcoin, because they think the chance of the rise doesn't exist. And that's something that our world, I think, is like kind of not really even ready for. Like, there is no question in my mind Bitcoin 5x's, no question. And whether Bitcoin is $1 or Bitcoin is $1 million, like there's just no question in my mind that Bitcoin 5x's, because I know what the power of the mining network, and to your point about hash rate, like that is the value proposition, hard stop. And so as long as the hash rate continues to do what it does, and as long as the algorithms continue to maintain their sovereignty, like Bitcoin will continue to rise in value. And that doesn't matter about the units. And so I think that going to the you know, SAT standard is what we have to do in order to get our world to kind of like wake up to being ready for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you think back to the peak in 2017, I mean, I was working at an OTC desk and people were kicking in the door to buy $3 Ripple because it was cheaper than Bitcoin.
100%, man.
You know, tens of thousands of dollars often in single sittings. And they would just, well, Ripple's only a few dollars. It could be worth what Bitcoin is worth. I'm like, really, dude? Because there's 100 billion units and only less than 40% of that is currently available on the market. And the rest can be dumped on the market at any time and is being dumped regularly. And how did that pan out? Well, yeah. You know, it's not even close to what it was. I think it got up to like almost $4. It was like 370 something. It's not even close. People got destroyed because of unit bias. And I think it may happen again this epoch because we're not quite on a SAT standard. I think next time around, it'll be a SAT standard, but we're not quite there. And I think because of it, there's going to be a lot of people coming in being like, oh, this is cheaper and it could go up just as much, and they're going to get screwed.
Well, that's the scam that sorry, Benjamin, go ahead.
I just wanted to say quickly, you know, to your point about it being a scam, you know, something that people don't realize, for those of us that have been in this for a little bit, you know, had I have not shitcoined in 2017, I'd have significantly more Bitcoin than I do today.
Totally.
So that's just, I mean, so you know what? All I had to do was sit there, continue to hodl, and do nothing. And I couldn't do that. So I learned my lesson, and that's just my piece about, you know, it's a huge scam. The unit bias may get you, but it's not worth it. That, you know, somebody's looking at it and saying, look, it's cheaper. It's cheaper for a reason, and it's not going to do what you think it's going to do. And it isn't here to do what you think it's here to do.
You pay. Sorry, that's the price. That's the price of tuition, man. Like I've seen so many people pay that price. You know, myself included. Right. I got a little bit lucky because I stuck to mining, so I was forced. But yeah, man. I think that and there's a lot, like, people shouldn't be ashamed about it, right? Because I think that the majority of Bitcoiners today start off shitcoining, and then they eventually start to see the truth, like I like to call it. And then, you know, they either get attracted to that or they get straight up wrecked, right? Because
we got to, Nico, we got to start a hashtag price of tuition every time you see somebody get wrecked.
I like that.
Yes,
I'm doing it, man.
Yeah,
like, hats off to you. I like that.
Yeah,
hashtag price of tuition.
You learned is a fiat lesson. Like, we're trained as kids that you have to invest your fiat in order to make it worth what it's still worth today. Like, you have to work just to maintain with a fiat standard. And with Bitcoin, or with the Bitcoin standard, you have to, like, it's the lazy man's game. Let's be honest. Holding Bitcoin is the smartest and also the laziest thing that you can do. And it should be very, very inherent for all of us to do it. But we're ingrained from day one. Like, you got to invest it. You got to take risks. You got to make sure that cash under your mattress is going to be less valuable tomorrow. And we're like, we have to like detox from this toxic fiat system.
You're absolutely right. And it's the incentives, right? With cash, you're incentivized to spend because it's gonna be worth later. And then with Bitcoin, that's why. So you talk to all Bitcoiners, it's like, you know, dude, they live frugally because they know that if they spend, okay, listen. So I'm planning to go on a ski trip with my buddy, and he was like, look, pay me for the house, and because we're renting a house together. And man, I don't have any cash savings. So I was like, okay, I'll pay you in Bitcoin. Mind you, the price of Bitcoin was at 10,000 then, right? A week later, it went almost to 20,000. And I'm like, dude, you're paying for the car, man. You're renting the car because after that, he's just like, ha 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 ha.
So trip, bro.
Yeah, it's such it was 2 times what I thought it was gonna be. So but I did buy that Bitcoin a long time ago, but it was like it still hurts, So Bitcoin is like it's incentivized to force you to spend. Yeah. And that overall makes you into, I hate to say that, but it really does make you into a better person because you're living frugally and you're thinking about your purchases rather than fiat, which is, man, fiat's very depressing. It's a very depressing type of mentality that you have when you're on fiat. When you're on Bitcoin, it's hope, right? You look at your future, you're like, wow, the possibilities are endless. When you save in fiat, it's depressing, man. It really is, right? And that goes to show like how much of that stems the behavior in people today. Just
You're on the hamster wheel.
Yeah, well said.
Okay,
it's such a paradigm shift too, and I think one interesting way that I think about it when it comes to investments is like it allows people to invest to try to get returns in things that they think are good, rather than having to invest to avoid loss.
Bingo. Yeah, it's opportunity forced.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it prevents a lot, or discourages at least, a lot of malinvestment, a lot of misallocation of capital. And when you kind of zoom out and look at the effect of that on society, on the world more broadly, it can lead to a nice place.
Yeah, 100%. So what I want to do now is obviously we got to drop our reasons why we're bullish. I know we kind of went on a massive tangent with mine, so I apologize for that, but it was good. Before I do that, everybody that's in the chat, thank you guys for being here. There's about 90 people watching live right now. Smash that like button. Every time you do, it bumps us in front of more eyeballs, and give it a share, retweet it, whatever you need to do and get more people in here. But I see you guys, and I saw a bunch of you drop some super chats and stuff earlier, so thank you so much for that. But let's get into some more topics here. I think I'm gonna jump to Adam here, and I'm just curious, what has you bullish lately, man? What are you feeling?
My phone doesn't stop ringing. It's unknown number after unknown number of, hey, we met in 2014. Are you still selling Bitcoin? Or, hey, I bought Bitcoin in 2016. Are you still doing that? And it's like, it is shocking. I'm getting 5 to 10 phone calls a day right now of people that like I don't even remember talking to back in, over the last kind of 5 to 7 years. And I think it's showing, like, to your point, like, let me be clear, at the peak, at the bull run in kind of October through December 2017, it was about 80 messages or 80 calls a day. That's kind of how many times. And someone else was calling me looking for Bitcoin, and we're at 5 right now at the same prices. So it's like we have a long way to, assuming I'm still as important, I guess, as I think I am. Like, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm just some washed up. But I truly do think that retail has yet to wake up, and the price surge we saw was strictly due to institutions buying for the sole intent on just locking it away in some frozen storage and holding it for a very, very long time.
Yeah, 100%. I'll toss it. Maybe I'll Phil, how about you? You starting to get the hey man, we used to talk like a few years ago, and I noticed you're doing a Bitcoin thing. Are you how you doing?
Absolutely. So, okay. My father is in his early 70s, and one of his best friends contacted me on Facebook. Yeah, I still have Facebook to keep in touch with family. and he was like, hey, I see you posting about Bitcoin. So right there, I mean, and trust me, this person is not, you know what I mean? It's just, I'm very surprised that this particular person reached out. So that was very cool. Also, getting messages from people at work, which is nice as well, because a lot of those people are Bitcoin haters. So that, yeah, I work with a lot of software engineers, and I thought that, hey, when I explain this to them, they are just totally going to get it. And surprisingly, I think it's maybe more of a reflection of my explanation. Maybe they came back to me with stupid things like, well, it's not insured by the FDIC. So stuff like that, but otherwise, yeah, I'm definitely getting more traffic, and all of a sudden people are looking at me like I'm not such an idiot anymore. So
That's great.
love
appreciate that.
Isn't it? You kind of feel like a little bit, like I was right all this time. Maybe I'm not so stupid.
I mean, we're crazy, but we're the right kind of crazy.
That's right.
Just crazy enough to be early. Yeah. How about you, Nico? You had some of the messages start to filter through and find their way to your inbox.
Yeah, so I'm getting I'm already getting the messages like, dude, should I buy? And then that made me confident enough to start wearing the I told you so sweater. It has a little Bitcoin logo. And then my mom always does the same thing, right? I know how the Bitcoin market's doing because my mom has the same behavior, right? For the last 3 years, I've been telling her, Mom, buy, right? And she doesn't listen, right? When Bitcoin hits all-time high, she's like, I'm gonna buy some, and she goes all in.
Dude,
And
that's not just your mom, man. That's the whole world.
She went crazy. She dumped it at, I think it was at 19.5, and then it had the correction to 18. She's like, I lost money. I'm like, I've been telling you for 3 years, So yeah, man, it's but look, guys, this is so different. It's hard to be appreciative with Bitcoin, right? But we're hovering at these basically high levels, right? And it's so different than 2017. No, look, if you look at the Google trends, it's not there. Like the euphoria or whatever, the insanity. It's not quite there yet. So I can't. The Twitter's going to be a crap shoot next year, just to say the least.
You just gave me a great idea for a meme. I don't know if you guys saw the meme of the Google search trends for Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas. And it's like this massive spike every December. And then there's like this guy, I think he's like on a seawall and there's like a massive storm incoming. And the caption just reads, "It's coming," because it zooms into like November on the chart when it just goes, eh, as people start searching for Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas. We need to make one of those, but for Bitcoin epochs and their subsequent bull runs. I think that's so anybody in the chat, if you want to beat me to that before this episode is over, then you're welcome to. But anyways, I'll toss it to you, Stephen. Anything to add on to the topic at hand?
Definitely. And before kind of the reason that I'm bullish, I do want to echo a lot of what you said, Nico, around just the anecdotes from friends and family, right? Because I've observed similar things. And, I've been talking up Bitcoin for the last few years, even kind of during the bear market and whatnot. And, my mom she's got a friend who's in his 70s and very kind of, traditional conservative investor. And I would always kind of nudge him a little bit here and there about Bitcoin and just like never really registered, never stuck. And then finally, this week, apparently he just saw on CNBC where they have like the Bitcoin price in the lower corner pulled. I think it's pulled from Coinmetrics. And suddenly, like it all flipped for him. And it's like, oh, this source of information that I'm used to getting information from is mentioning this thing. It's not just this weird thing out in this corner of the world where these weird Bitcoin people go. And now he's interested. And now I think he wants to buy. And so just Bitcoin gradually creeping into more of the mainstream sources of information, more mainstream trusted companies. So bullish. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. So let's segue into another reason for being bullish. Maybe I will toss it. Actually, since you just had the mic, Stephen, let's toss it to you. What's has you feeling bullish?
Yeah, and I love the question because it made me think of how many different possible answers there are, because I am bullish for so many different reasons, and that feels nice. I'm going to have to go with I'm bullish because I think they are visibly messing up the dollar. I think they're breaking the dollar, and we're seeing it happen. And, for people who kind of have started to pay attention to economics and understand central banking and how that whole scheme works, a lot of people know what happened in 1971 when they took the US off the gold standard and made the value of the dollar just free floating. And so those fundamentals have kind of been that way for decades. And they've been printing money, going into debt, stealing value from people's savings for decades. But the difference now that I see is we have these social media platforms like Twitter, and decentralized communications platforms now, where we can talk about that, see it happening, amplify it, raise people's awareness of it. And if you consider the boiling the frog analogy, right? Like they've been doing this, they've been stealing value from the dollar for a long time, but just slowly enough that it's really, really hard to notice. And I think now they're turning up the temperature too fast, right? All of the trillions that they're printing for the stimulus bills. There's the memo that leaked from Citibank recently talking about the dollar could potentially lose 20% of its purchasing power next year in 2021. And that kind of stuff, like when it's those types of numbers, I think people will finally start waking up and say like, wow, like this thing I'm using to save in is not going to be able to buy as much. Like, what do I do? And suddenly, like Bitcoin could become the safe play. I'm being a conservative, risk-averse investor because I'm saving in Bitcoin, not dollars.
I love it. I just want to point out somebody in the chat basically saying that they're just going to have their UBI sent straight to Kraken. That's hilarious.
Love it.
Anyways, so yeah, I want to echo what you're saying. It's weird because typically most people they really don't know a lot about money, how money comes to be, about monetary policy. But this year has, for the first time I've ever seen, actually made people start to question those things and bring it up. And it's brought it to the forefront because when people hear, oh, they printed trillions of dollars, they start to be like, well, but how? And like, does that, they start to be like, well, isn't that a problem? Does that not affect anything? And they start to realize inherently, most people know if something is scarce, then and there's demand for it, then there's value there. And so hearing again that they've created trillions of dollars for something that typically there's a fair amount of demand for, I think it's thrust that narrative in front of a lot of eyes and just regular households where you would have never seen it before. So it the destruction of the dollar and by proxy every fiat currency pegged to it is therefore front and center. I don't know. So I'll toss it, Nico. I don't know. What are you thinking about the downfall of fiat here?
Yeah, man, look, I'll give you, and this, I found this is a very interesting phenomenon that I've noticed. And in Western countries where the inflation rate is relatively stable, it takes some work to convince someone to buy Bitcoin. What I've noticed is that I hate to use the term third world countries, or in countries where the inflation is more volatile, they understand Bitcoin right off the bat. The moment that you tell them, look, it's a currency that's not controlled by anyone, they're like, where can I buy this? You don't even need to convince them, right? So, and the other component is like, you're seeing a lot of, these protests that are promoting terrible economic ideas that have been proven to fail, like socialism, communism, all that stuff. And what these people don't realize, what happens when these people realize that it's not the economic system that's broken, it's the money that's broken. And what happens when remember, they're young people, so they're very ideological. It just snaps, right? And you start to see like little hints, right? In the yellow vest in Paris, someone was wearing a Bitcoin thing. In the Janet Yellen, Federal Reserve meeting, there was a guy holding a Bitcoin sign. So it's like this counterculture that also saves you money. So I see it as it's just a matter of time. And if what Stefan, if that happens, right? If inflation does hit that 20%, man, it's like the coronavirus. It's this perfect situation for Bitcoin to flourish. And it's going to be so liberating for everybody. Like, people don't understand that. But what happens when they start to understand it? What happens when the Western world learns the lesson that the third world knows because of the hardships that they've been through?
100%. I'll toss it to you, Phil. What are you feeling about the dollar?
So before Bitcoin, so like probably when I was 16, I had realized that the money was bad. And I was a bit of a conspiracy theorist as a kid, and that was one of the first things I wanted to understand is, okay, so where does this come from? And my parents were just like, listen, you don't ask questions like this. Okay. It's the government that handles it. Don't even go there. I'm like, okay. And then obviously, you keep digging and you start to realize, that it's the Mandrake mechanism, which is really just a fancy term for we print money. Okay. And they give you a whole bunch of charts that show you all this fancy stuff that goes on in the background. But at the end of the day, it comes completely out of nothing now. And I think people don't realize that the government, they have nowhere else to hide this inflation anymore, right? The stock prices, the housing prices, the last kind of like the last vestige is, the retail person that goes to buy, like I saw somebody in the chat talking about $7 for milk. Like, that's the thing, right? That's how they've been hiding it from everybody, is making it so that you don't really notice the creep, right? And how did we make it so that you didn't notice the creep? Well, we started to manufacture things in much cheaper places, cheaper quality, cheaper places, cheaper product. My lifestyle isn't going down. I'm still getting everything I that I want. I'm actually getting more. So it's this whole grand illusion that we're quote unquote, living better off of this cheap garbage, but we're not. And at the end of the day, we're actually, as you know, we're trading that time, that value for these trinkets and this garbage. So yeah, I think that they have no more rabbits in their hat. At this point, you notice that the voices are getting much louder. People like Francis Coppola, who honestly should be on pills, and then you've got you've got Nouriel, like who I swear to God, it's like they animate these people when Bitcoin price goes up. Like all of a sudden they let them out of their cage. Here, go free. It's the most ridiculous thing. So and it's just funny. So to me, this is what it is. These are the echoes of a dying system. It gets really loud till it stops.
Yeah, I like I like the reference to the fact that it's harder and harder to hide. Again, a really good kind of what you're talking about too, in the same vein, shrinkflation, where you have products that are deceptively packaged to look the same as they used to be, but you're getting less product for the same and often now higher prices. There was a book called "This Book Will Save You Time" by Monsieur Mamedov, and in the book he talks about the cost of a Snickers bar in the UK and how the size of the Snicker bar in a period of, I think it was like 5 years, it was insane, it went down to almost half the size and more than doubled in price. It was crazy. And he applied it to other things, and the only thing where it seems not to apply, it tends to be technology, because it moves at such a fast deflationary pace. We're able to be so efficient with that stuff so much quicker that the prices seem to either stay the same or go down. You're getting more bang for your buck because they can't inflate the currency fast enough to keep up with the deflationary pressures that we should be enjoying. And so you look at that and then you apply that reasoning to everything. How much more efficient have we gotten at creating food, at making homes? We should be living in friggin' citadels reaching to the sky. We should be living on Mars and exploring the universe. But because of our shitty fiat money, we're spinning our wheels. Yeah. But we've got some cool trinkets that we bought on Amazon this week. So that's cool, I guess. Adam, take it away. Fuck.
Man, I don't know how to follow that up, man. Your passion is just coming. It's like punching me in the face all the way from Calgary, man. It's awesome. I think, like, to me, it's just the education part. Ben, you and I have linked up a few times for these shows, and I've had the pleasure of speaking publicly about this. Like, our education system is just being questioned right now, and that what leaves me super bullish. Ben and I were talking one time, and Ben said that he's like, I am so bullish on Bitcoiners having kids. And I was like, yeah, hell yeah. Like, because we're not just kind of the status quo. I mean, Phil, like, your parent, don't ask questions about that. That is not the messaging that my kids are gonna get. It's gonna be like, yeah, ask the questions, right? Figure it out. I remember having this discussion with Buddy's wife of mine, talking about like what happens to $1 when it gets into the bank and how it's lent out and how fractional that truly is. And she was like, no, that can't happen. That would be illegal. And I was like, yeah, exactly. that's the problem. And no one's talking about it. But now we are, right? Now you see the leaked memos. You see kind of the way that money is being talked about is different right now. you know, when we start to get into the other side of the coin on you know, someone mentioned UBI earlier, or what's happening with the printing going on right now, you just truly realize just literally how not scarce the dollar is, or how plentifully available. You see the photos out of Venezuela where their money's in trash buckets. Like there's literally hundreds of millions of dollars in plastic bags in a gutter in Venezuela because there's money. The hyperinflation has just been so horrible. It's crazy. My son, I have a little story about scarcity. My son and I, he's 4, we play Hungry Hippos in the morning, you know, the game, the tap, 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 tap. And there's like 15 orange balls and there's 1 yellow ball. And the way we play is because he could probably figure it out, but I just can't figure out the math properly you know, they all have the same value. It's kind of what I'm saying. And every time he gets the yellow ball, he freaks out. He loves it because it's so important. It's got the same value as everything else, but his 4-year-old brain understands that this one is just inherently more important because it's the only one in the hippo bin. And like, he's 4 and I didn't teach him that. Like he understands scarcity to a level that most adult humans just cannot. And that's because it's built into us as humans. And so I think that as our education system kind of continues to expand and go in that direction, more adults will have that understanding that like scarcity is truly like what is driving value. And if nothing is scarce, then nothing is good. And I think that our money right now is not scarce, and therefore our money is not good.
I wanted to ask a quick question about your Hungry Hippos game. At the end of it, if you don't have an equal number of orange balls, do you pull out a jar and print more orange balls so that everybody's equal? I know you can't do that with the yellow ball, but you know.
Our printer's going burr the whole time the game's going. That's how it works.
You gotta even it out afterwards, right? Here's your UBI.
Everyone's a winner.
Nico, you can jump in.
Yeah, he's absolutely right, and that's why I feel like the education is so important, but not how you would think of education, right? With a chalkboard and whatever. I'm talking about the cultural education is so important, right? What do I mean by that? And I don't want you guys to laugh. I'm being 100% serious. The meme game is so important. The fact that the Bitcoin is winning the meme game against the dollar is so important. And I'll kind of explain why, because it sounds kind of funny. Memes are a very efficient way of educating someone extremely quickly, right? And usually a lot of them are very funny, right? And what's tended to happen is that memes have become an extremely part of internet culture, an extremely important part of internet culture. Right. And the fact that a lot of Bitcoiners, you see this, it has such a strong presence, right? You come to Bitcoin Twitter, you get educated, you get attracted, you get orange pilled, right? I think that it's so important that this education continues to evolve, right? Whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Twitter, it has to be on all fronts, and it has to be completely directed against the dollar. Like that is the final boss, right? That's boss level 99, and you have to beat him, right? You have to beat him. I think it was Max Kaiser that said, there can't be two. There can't be dollar, and Bitcoin can't be at $1 million, right? One has to die, right? And I think that the education game and building on this grass movement that Bitcoin has is so important, right? And re-educating people to basically their toddler selves and appreciate that orange ball, right? So, but in this case, that orange ball is Bitcoin.
Boom.
I'll toss it to Phil here. How are you feeling about the education game, and maybe even the reproducing Bitcoiners that are hitting the ground running? I've got a second one coming in April, so yeah, I'm doing my best to repopulate the planet with sound money advocates. But yeah, Phil, take it away.
Very nice, very nice,
brother. I want that on a t-shirt right now.
The memes are just coming out, man. We're gonna have all the slogans, all the memes. Okay, so education is an interesting topic, right? Because to Adam's point about his story, which I think is incredibly symbolic. Right out of the gate, we understand things correctly, and it's almost like a veil is placed in front of us.
Yeah.
right? We start going to school, and when we go to school and you go to economics, I still remember this. So I grew up in Montreal, and has a pretty decent, education system. And when I did grade 10 economics, our economics class, the piece that had to do with investment, was going and looking at a newspaper and choosing 10 stocks. And then at the end of the week, whoever had the most money from what they started with wins. So it really didn't teach you very much. And in economics, you'll notice that they never really cover. I never heard of Hayek as a kid, but I definitely heard of Keynes, and I was even told, like when they explain it to you, they don't explain to you that there is another way and that it could be better. They simply tell it to you like it is. This is what it is. This is how it works.
Well,
and it's that authoritarian kind of that authoritarian kind of style that, okay, well, this is just something we don't question. This is how society works.
Just to clarify, you were talking about Selma Hayek, right?
No.
There's a comment
unless she's a sound money proponent, and
maybe
let's get
her on.
We'll find out. I did have a secondary comment about your class. So basically, they got you to imaginary speculate on stocks with no research whatsoever. Was week 2 the craps table? Like, what the hell is going on?
I kid you not. I was like, this is like that was, that was our introduction to the stock market and investing. So just to wrap up my point was that, we are never really taught about the problems of our money. As people, we're never taught that the money needs to work for you. Like, you're never really explained the true effects of inflation in general school. Like, a person who comes out of school with like grade 11 education or something like that, unless they've gone and decided to learn on their own, or somebody has explained this to them, or whatever it is, they are going to be trapped saving in cash, if saving at all. And they're not really going to understand that they're trading away their future, almost like their future success, their future value for absolutely nothing. So without Bitcoin, all you had was stocks and real estate and bonds, and you're constantly sitting there in this circus of junk, just trying to keep yourself going. And I think that that's where the education system fails. And I'm really glad to see stuff like, Saifedean, right, and his works, and especially all the Bitcoin authors, that are coming out and actually taking the time to write this stuff out and explain it to people. And we've got the Bitcoin rabbi who makes the book for kids. It's cool.
The thing about the education system as it sits is the education system was built and designed in a time when the world didn't need thinkers. The world needed little robots to go into a factory for 8 to 24 hours a day and build whatever one other person felt was necessary. And during the revolution, during the French Revolution. And so now we are in a time when the world needs thinkers more than ever. And our education system, full of like one single test that's supposed to grade the entire population, is just not caught up. And so I really hope that even through this pandemic, like, schools being shut down, I hope that parents wake up that, like, oh, my kid's learning as much in 1 hour that they were spending in, for entire weeks. Like, I've got some of my friends that have older kids. It's like, oh yeah, Jimmy got 4 hours of homework for the week and that's all he did. It's like, shouldn't you be like taking note of that and taking them out of school and having them learn about money inflation, or about the zoo, or just how to build a shed, like really anything useful, rather than like creating a little tiny robot that's going to go sit behind a desk for 45 to 50 hours a week and kind of trade his time away for a useless paycheck that won't be worth anything in 3 years. It's hopefully the education system kind of wakes up to that.
Yeah, 100%. I think I'm gonna toss it over to, we did Steven, we did Adam. I'm having trouble who hasn't given. Have we not done Nico and Phil yet for their reasons for being bullish?
Yeah, we did everyone.
Yeah, we did.
Because wasn't Nico was the hash rate or the way mining kind of rolls.
Okay. Cool. All right. I'm just making sure that we hit everybody. If there's any last things that we want to riff on, I'm cool with going a little bit longer here. If you guys are cool, if you got like 5-10 minutes to have some final thoughts. So maybe I'll toss it down the line and quickly see if there's any last things to tease out. So I don't know, Stephen, is there anything else that's caught your eye this past week that you're interested in that has popped up on your feed, either on a regulatory front or investment front or so on and so forth?
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing that I've noticed this week has been in the regulatory realm. So seeing some of the buzz about incoming regulations that I think were more geared towards stablecoins and maybe even originated through something in the Ethereum ecosystem, perhaps. It didn't seem Bitcoin specific anyway. But involved legislation that would be passed that I worry could someday expand to, include Bitcoin or to try to be used to limit the ways in which Bitcoin is used. And that's something that I think as Bitcoiners, anyone who kind of values decentralization and the idea of taking power back from this system and giving it to individuals, I just think it's really important to and to be skeptical of the claims of regulators around this stuff, almost to treat them as guilty until proven innocent, right?
Yeah.
There was even an interview today with someone in the currency controller's office that sounded great. He explicitly said, that we will not be banning Bitcoin, and that, like, as a statement, wonderful. That's what you want to see. However, I do worry that there might be more sly attempts to limit Bitcoin's value proposition, right? There might be, we're not banning Bitcoin. We're just not letting you take custody of your Bitcoin. We're just forcing you to use institutional Bitcoin, not this cypherpunk peer-to-peer Bitcoin. So, understanding and remembering Bitcoin's value prop, running full nodes, controlling your own keys, that kind of stuff. I think as Bitcoiners, us continuing to do that as we onboard new people, just super important.
Yeah, I'm bullish on the fact that that's going to be so hard to implement if they even try. Given that, what did I say at the beginning? 88 by the end of next year, 90% of all Bitcoin has been mined. And I know that I think it's something like 15% of that sits with institutions and the rest is just out there. So how do you start to then reel in all of that free free sovereign money that's already sloshing around the entire globe? How do you even begin to start to rein that in? I know they can obviously attack like the on ramps and off ramps, but for me, I'm not getting off.
Yeah. And also to echo what Nico mentioned earlier, like the meme army is already on it and it's great. The memes are hilarious that are coming out in response to this stuff. I think it was Niraj tweeted something awesome that was like, oh, my full node just processed a DAI transaction, and then it's like a SWAT team like swinging through the windows. And
that's great. Nico, any final thoughts from you? Anything that is on your mind?
Yeah, look, there's a great battle that's going to happen. My assumption is going to happen this decade, right? And the battles between a dystopian future of central bank digital currencies and a free future of Bitcoin, right? And it's going to be against government regulators and the propaganda arm of Bitcoin, which are the memes and all the goods and the content creation and BTC session videos, right? So it's going to be a war. And it's going to be an information. It's not going to be a traditional war. It's going to be an information war, right? And people are going to, because there's trade-offs between the two systems, right? The decentralized system is free, it's uncensorable, it's immutable, right? And the centralized system is going to be very quick, it's going to be very fast, it's going to be like Ripple, it's going to be like shit, but it's not really decentralized, right? So that's what's going to happen in the next 10 years. Right, there's going to be a war, right? So, banks don't want cash, right? They've already revealed that, right? They don't want cash. They want you on the rat wheel of fiat. They want you spending, right, to fund their crazy monetary theories, right? And I just hope that enough people decide to opt out on this little orange life raft called Bitcoin. So those are my thoughts.
Love it. How about you, Adam? Any final thoughts on anything this week?
Yeah, a little bit of insight into kind of what the corporate side of things look like. So as we take Bitcoin Well public, like this wasn't possible 2 years ago or 3 years ago. The amount of institutions that have reached out, like they're calling us now, right? Where before we'd knock on the door and not even if it was opened, it would just get slammed in our face. You're not allowed at this party. Sorry, this is not for you. You know, now we're not only are we invited, but we're like the prettiest girl at the dance at this point.
I mean, madam, you were always pretty.
My beard, I did a Movember campaign, so I'm feeling awfully naked right now. But like a perfect example of this is we need some new office space for our company. And the landlord straight up said to us, or the broker, he was just like, honestly, tell me what you want. Whatever you want, we'll get it, because like you are the prettiest girl at the dance. Your business is thriving. Your business is in the hottest industry. And I'm just like, man, I couldn't even get a broker to work with me 5 years ago. Like, let alone tell me, like, I have all the options in the world. So just that corporate angle, you know, Steven, you said it perfectly. That cypherpunk, decentralized kind of network is all of a sudden attractive to the corporate institutions. And I want to close out with that. I think that's just so exciting, and I'm really, really excited for like what happens next.
I love the dynamic of
dancing.
It's yeah. I was gonna say, you know, initially there was like there's like this head-to-head kind of game theory thing playing out, and initially it was like you know, the banks were like, screw this, we don't want to deal with any of you. And we, you know, Bitcoiners, well, I'm literally wearing a shirt that says Bitcoin because fuck banks. But you know, that's the attitude coming in, and the banks were like, well, fuck you. And then all of a sudden the central banks are like, yo, we're going to make our own digital currencies. And banks must be looking at this going, oh, God, we may not be able to create currency ourselves if there's a direct line from central bank to individual.
Ooh,
and so no banks.
Bank.
Yeah, but now the traditional banks are like, yo, can we get Bitcoin? So now central banks are like, wait, no, we make the currency. Hold on, we don't want you dealing with it. So it's like that scene in Reservoir Dogs where everybody just has the guns on each other. Like we're sitting in that right now with central banks, retail banks, and then Bitcoiners. Except for Bitcoiners are just like chilling.
In the back, eating popcorn, bro.
We're eating popcorn with our little tiny private keys in our pocket. Like, oh, this will be cute.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're sitting with bulletproof vests for the most part. I'll toss it, Phil, if you have any final thoughts here that you want to share.
Absolutely. Okay, so number one, Reservoir Dogs, great movie, good reference, love it. Number two, Adam's story just made me so bullish. So just that alone, just right there, I'm like, all right, that's great. You know, just a total pump up. So the one thing from this week that I think is interesting, but I'm not smart enough to know exactly how. I think this is bullish for Bitcoin. I think this is terrible for the dollar, and I'm just learning to figure out how. But there was a tweet from the Fed Reserve on the 3rd that they're going to be switching from LIBOR to the secured overnight financing rate, SOFR. That to me just sounds like another trick. I don't know enough, you know, to be positive, but if there's anything that we've learned from what the Fed Reserve does, they're never doing anything to benefit the people, and they're only doing actions to enrich themselves and own more of the country through, you know, more of their printing of garbage.
It sounds like a.
If you go to NewYorkFed.org right now to click on what that means, the message is site maintenance down right now.
Flawless.
Nice.
Amazing. Yeah.
2020.
Yeah.
They don't need to offer an explanation because we're
we don't want you to know, actually.
we don't want you to know because what we're doing isn't real.
Adam, you might be the first human being to click on that link.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. It looks like it's that unit bias, right? It's if you call interest rates, you know, it's like buying a car. How much does a car cost these days? $249 bi-weekly. No, you idiot. It's $60,000 for a Toyota Corolla. You just haven't. You just end it for the next 2 decades is the difference, and it's just that unit bias, right? Humans are programmed right now. Smaller number must be better. I know buying cheese, someone that I know bought this like tiny little pack of 5 slices of cheese for like $3.50, and they're like, well, the block of cheese was just way too expensive. And I was like, yeah, but it was a whole block of cheese. Like, you got like a fraction of a piece of cheese there, and for $5 you could have gotten a whole block. But anyways, it's the unit bias. Back to the unit bias.
I had an argument with somebody, and this is who you're stacking against. But I had an argument with somebody. I think it was in like a thread under like something that Preston Pish and Robert Breedlove were talking about, and they were talking about how, you know, if the price of Bitcoin grows so high that the purchasing power of a single Satoshi becomes high, and you need subdivisibility, Lightning Network and things like that can be used to pay in fractions of
Satoshis.
Yeah. And then this guy got in the thread and he's like, I thought Bitcoin did not have inflation. And so everybody's saying, well, it's not inflation. It's further dividing what's there. And so everybody then went into, there's the pizza analogy. Well, if you have a pizza and it's cut into 10 pieces, it's not the same. If you cut it into 20 pieces, you don't have double the pizza. You just have a smaller piece of the whole. And everybody was explaining that to him. And he was like, no. But if you're using pizza as money, well, then you now have more units. And so it's irrelevant. And I was like,
oh gosh,
one piece of pizza no longer feeds you. As one, a sub Satoshi is no longer going to purchase you a car.
It is so funny how hard that is to grok for most people, right? Yeah. Like my favorite tongue-in-cheek reply to that is like, okay, be right back. I'm going to take a gold brick and smash it up to make some more gold. But that's not how this stuff works. It's just
those dust particles are going to be worth tons.
Oh God.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, I've got to say I had a lot of fun chatting with you. Everybody in the chat here that's been watching too, smash that like button, give this a share. It really does help the channel. I'll just go once more through the line and just let people know where they can find you, whether it be Twitter, website, whatever you want them to find. Steven, you take it away.
Stephen Cole, and Twitter's the best place to find me. I'm SThenC on Twitter.
Perfect. And no problem. Thanks for being here, Nico. How about you?
Yeah, you guys can find me at my it's that way at my hashtag at Twitter, BitVault7. And me and Phil do daily Bitcoin only meme review, news, daily recap videos, and you can find us at our channel at Simply Bitcoin on YouTube.
Awesome. Adam, how about you?
Yeah, just changed my Twitter handle at Adam O'Brien _. And company is bitcoinwell.com. We do buy and sell Bitcoin in Canada and through ATMs across Canada.
Awesome. And Phil, take it away.
You can find me on Twitter. I'm at Coin Icarus, and like BitVault said, we host the Simply Bitcoin YouTube channel. So
awesome.
That's where I'm at.
Well, awesome, gentlemen. Thank you so much for chatting with me. I had a lot of fun here. Also, shout out to Steve, who just dropped a super chat there. Thank you, dude. But guys, thank you so much. I'd love to have all of you on again in the future, and I'm sure we'll be chatting with each other. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good time, guys. Thanks.
See you guys.
Cool.
Thanks a bunch.
I'm gonna kill your audio and video to just do a quick intro or outro rather. Guys, thank you so much for watching the show. Really had a blast. This was a great group here. So yeah, a lot of fun. As always, if you are watching, like, subscribe, and share. They all really do help. So please do them. If you want to help the show in another way, you can hit up the sponsors I mentioned down below. That was LEDN. That was Kobo. That was Bitrefill. And that was the guys at BillFodl, which is Privacy Pros. You can head to their websites. All of those linked down below. And if you really loved what you saw, you can always hit me up with a Lightning Network tip at my tippin.me page. That is tippin.me/@BTC Sessions. With that, I'm out. Have yourselves a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, wherever you may be, and I'll see you next time for your daily session.
Hodl the Bitcoin.